Hey, Emily, you know what I was thinking about the other day when I was talking to my neighbor?
What's that, Joe?
Well, she was asking me about something, and I realized how confusing it must be for people learning English.
Oh, let me guess. Was it about do and make? Because honestly, that trips up so many people all the time.
Exactly, yeah. She kept saying things like, I need to make my homework, and I didn't want to correct her rudely.
Oh, that's such a common mix up. I hear that one constantly, and it makes sense why people get confused, honestly.
Right, because in so many languages, it's just one word for both things. So why does English need two different ones?
That's a great question. And honestly, there's not always a perfect logical reason. It's just how English developed over time.
Yeah, and I think the best way to understand it is just by seeing real examples from everyday life situations.
Absolutely, because when you try to memorize rules, it gets confusing. But when you see it in context, it clicks much faster.
So true. Like if I say, I need to do the dishes, that sounds totally normal, right?
Yeah, completely natural. We say do the dishes all the time. It's one of those classic household phrases everyone uses.
But if I said, I need to make the dishes, that would sound really weird. Like, what does that even mean?
Right, because make the dishes sounds like you're creating dishes from clay or something, like actually producing physical dishes somehow.
Exactly. So even though both do and make are about actions, they're used in totally different ways depending on the situation.
Yeah, and I think do is usually about tasks, activities, and things you perform or complete, like chores or jobs.
Right, like do the laundry, do your homework, do the cleaning, do the shopping. All of those are tasks you complete.
Exactly. And when you think about it, you're performing an activity that needs to be done. It's about completing something.
Yeah, and make is more about creating something or producing a result, like making food or making a decision or something.
That's a good way to put it. Make is often about bringing something new into existence that wasn't there before.
Right, so if I say, I'm going to make dinner, I'm creating a meal, I'm producing something that didn't exist yet.
Exactly. And if you said, I'm going to do dinner, that sounds super strange. Like, what are you doing to the dinner?
Yeah, it doesn't work at all. So context really matters here, and you start to feel which one sounds right.
Definitely. And honestly, the more you hear these expressions used correctly, the more natural it becomes to choose the right one.
Absolutely. So maybe we can just go through some everyday situations and show how we actually use these in real life.
I love that idea because practical examples are way more helpful than trying to memorize lists or anything like that.
Okay, so let's start with morning routines because everyone has one and there are so many do and make situations there.
Good thinking. All right, so when I wake up in the morning, the first thing I usually do is make my bed.
Right, make the bed. That's super common. You're creating order, you're arranging it into a neat, organized state.
Exactly. And after that, I might make breakfast, like make some coffee and make toast or make eggs or whatever.
Yeah, all of those use make because you're preparing food. You're creating something to eat that wasn't ready before.
Right, but then after breakfast, I need to do the dishes, clean up the kitchen, take care of those tasks.
Exactly. Do the dishes, not make the dishes, because you're performing the cleaning task. You're completing that chore.
And then maybe I need to do some exercise before work, like do yoga or do a workout or something like that.
Yeah, do exercise, do yoga, do a workout. All of those use do because they're activities you perform regularly.
Right. And actually, Joe, this is interesting. We say do exercise, but we also say make an effort, don't we?
Oh, that's a great point. Yeah, because effort is something you're creating. You're producing energy towards something, so it's make. So you could say, I need to make an effort to exercise more, but then you actually do the exercise itself.
Exactly. So sometimes they work together in the same sentence, which shows how they're different but connected at the same time.
Yeah, and I think that's where it gets interesting because you start to see the subtle differences in meaning there.
Absolutely. And it's not about memorizing which words go with which, it's about understanding the feeling behind each one.
Right, and once you get that feeling, you can usually guess correctly even with expressions you've never heard before.
That's so true. It becomes intuitive, like you just know which one sounds right based on what you're trying to say.
Exactly. Okay, so let's talk about work situations now, because that's another area where both come up all the time.
Good idea. So, at work, you might need to do your job, do your tasks, do some paperwork, all of that.
Right, those are all activities or tasks you perform as part of your responsibilities, so they all use do naturally.
But you might also need to make a phone call, make an appointment, make a presentation, things like that at work.
Exactly, because when you make a phone call, you're initiating communication. You're creating that connection with someone else.
And when you make an appointment, you're setting up a meeting, you're creating a plan that didn't exist before you arranged it.
Right, and make a presentation means you're preparing and creating the content, putting together all the slides and information.
Exactly. So even in a work context, you can see how do is about performing tasks and make is about creating things.
Yeah, and here's another good one. At work, you might need to make a decision about something important, right?
Absolutely. Make a decision. That's such a common expression, and it's always make, never do, which is interesting to notice.
Right, because a decision is something you create through thinking and choosing. It's a result you produce from your judgment.
Exactly. But then after you make the decision, you need to do something about it. You need to take action.
Oh, I love that connection. So you make the decision, but then you do the work. You do the follow through.
Right. They work in sequence, and it shows how both words are essential but serve different purposes in English communication.
Absolutely. And here's another good one. At work, you might need to make a mistake because that's something everyone deals with. We all mess up sometimes, don't we?
Oh, yeah. And interestingly, we say make a mistake, not do a mistake, even though it's about an action you performed.
Right, that's a tricky one because it seems like it could be do, but we always say make a mistake.
I think it's because the mistake is the result you've created, even though you didn't mean to create it at all.
That makes sense. Yeah, you've produced an error, so it's make, even though it wasn't intentional or anything like that.
Exactly. And similarly, we say make a mess, like if you spill something or leave things disorganized everywhere around you.
Right, make a mess because you've created disorder. You've produced a messy situation that needs to be cleaned up now.
But then you need to do the cleaning to fix it. So again, make creates the problem, do solves it.
I love how these patterns emerge when you look at real situations. It's not random at all. There's logic to it.
Definitely. And I think the more examples we go through, the clearer this whole thing becomes for people listening.
Definitely. So let's keep going with more everyday situations. What about food and cooking? We touched on that a bit earlier.
Oh, yeah, food is perfect for this because we use make so much when we're talking about preparing meals or drinks.
Right, like make breakfast, make lunch, make dinner, make a sandwich, make a salad. All of those use make consistently.
Exactly, because you're creating the food, you're preparing ingredients to produce something you can eat or drink after.
Yeah, and we also say make coffee, make tea, make a smoothie. Anything where you're preparing a beverage works the same.
Right, but we don't really say do breakfast or do coffee. That would sound really unnatural and strange to native speakers.
Yeah, it would sound wrong immediately. And I think that's because food preparation is clearly about creating something from ingredients.
Exactly. But here's where it gets interesting. We do say do the cooking, like I'll do the cooking tonight, or something like that.
Oh, that's a great point. Yeah, do the cooking, because cooking is the activity, the task you're performing over time.
Right, so you do the cooking, which is the activity, but you make the meal, which is the result of that activity.
Wow, that's such a subtle but important difference, and it shows how these words really do have different roles in English communication.
Absolutely. And another food one is do the dishes, which we mentioned earlier. That's about the cleaning task afterwards, always.
Right, and we also say do the groceries or do the shopping. Those are tasks you perform, activities you complete regularly. Exactly. So in the kitchen area alone, you can see both do and make used in different ways for different purposes.
Yeah, and I think food is actually a great way to practice this because everyone eats, everyone has kitchen experiences daily.
Definitely. And if you pay attention to how people talk about food and cooking, you'll hear these patterns all the time.
Absolutely. Okay, what about favors and requests? Because we use both words there too in different ways, don't we?
Oh, yeah. So we say, do me a favor. Like, can you do me a favor and pick up some milk? Super common.
Right, do a favor, because a favor is an action or task you're performing for someone else to help them out.
Exactly. But we would never say, make me a favor. That just sounds completely wrong. It doesn't work at all in English.
Yeah, it has to be do a favor. And I think that's because it's about performing an action for someone's benefit.
Right. And similarly, we say, do someone a solid, which is kind of slang for doing a favor, helping someone out kindly.
Oh yeah, do someone a solid. That's more casual, but it follows the same pattern. It's about performing a helpful action.
Exactly. But then we also say, make someone happy or make someone angry, which is about creating an emotional state in them.
Right. Make happy, make sad, make angry, make proud. All of those use make because you're producing a feeling or emotion.
Yeah, you're creating that emotional response in the person. So it's make, not do, which would sound weird there completely.
Exactly, and that's another pattern. Emotions and feelings usually go with make because they're states you create in people somehow.
That's a really good observation, and it's another way to remember when to use which word in different situations naturally.
Absolutely. And what about money? Because we have some interesting expressions there with both do and make as well, right?
Oh yeah, so we say make money, like I need to make more money, or how does she make money? Always make.
Right. Make money because you're generating income. You're creating wealth through your work or business or whatever you're doing.
Exactly. And we also say make a living, like what do you do to make a living? That's asking about your job. But we would never say do money or do a living. That sounds completely unnatural. It has to be make in those cases.
Right. And I think it's because money and living are results you create through your efforts and work over time consistently.
Exactly. But then we might say do business with someone, like I do business with that company, or let's do business together.
Oh, that's interesting. Do business, because business is an activity, an ongoing relationship, not just a one-time creation of something.
Right, it's about the ongoing activity of working together, so it uses do, which makes sense when you think about it.
Yeah, these little distinctions are fascinating when you really look at them closely and think about why English uses each one differently.
Definitely. And honestly, the more you notice these patterns, the easier it becomes to use them correctly without even thinking about it.
Absolutely. It becomes automatic, and that's the goal, right? To just speak naturally without having to pause and think constantly.
Exactly. And I think we're getting there by just going through all these real examples from everyday situations people encounter regularly.
For sure. Okay, let's talk about some more expressions that people use all the time, like with noise and sounds and stuff.
Good idea. So we say make noise, make a sound, make a racket. All of those use make because you're creating sound.
Right, you're producing noise that wasn't there before, so it's make, like the kids are making so much noise upstairs.
Exactly. Or that machine makes a weird sound. You're talking about the production of sound, the creation of it from a source.
Yeah, and we'd never say do noise or do a sound. That just doesn't work at all in English. It sounds wrong.
Right, but interestingly, we do say do an impression, like, can you do an impression of that celebrity, or something like that?
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, do an impression, because an impression is a performance. It's an action you carry out.
Exactly, you're performing or executing an imitation of someone, so it's do, even though you're kind of creating something too.
Right, and that shows how sometimes the line can be a bit blurry, but there's still usually a clear preference native speakers have.
Definitely. And that preference is what you pick up by listening to how people actually use these words in real conversations daily.
Absolutely. And another interesting one is make a difference, like your help really makes a difference, or it doesn't make a difference.
Right, make a difference, because you're creating an impact. You're producing a change in a situation or outcome through your actions.
Exactly, but we also say do good or do harm, like he wants to do good in the world or don't do any harm.
Oh yeah, do good, do harm. Those are about performing actions that have positive or negative effects on others around you.
Right. So even though both can be about impact, make a difference is about the result, and do good is about the action.
That's such a subtle distinction, but it's there, and native speakers just know which one to use instinctively without thinking much.
Exactly. And that instinct comes from exposure, from hearing and using these expressions over and over in real situations consistently.
Absolutely. And you know what? I think we should wrap this up with just a quick recap of the main feelings behind each.
Good idea. So, do is usually about tasks, actions, activities, things you perform or complete, like chores or jobs or duties.
Right, and make is usually about creating, producing, or generating something new, like food, plans, decisions, or even feelings and emotions.
Exactly. And when you're not sure, think about whether you're performing an existing task or creating something new entirely from scratch.
Yeah, that's a great guideline, and over time it'll just become automatic. You won't have to think about it consciously anymore.
Definitely. And remember, there are some expressions you just have to learn as fixed phrases, like make a mistake or do a favor.
Right, those are set expressions, and the more you encounter them, the more they'll stick in your memory naturally without effort.
Exactly. So just keep listening, keep practicing, and don't be afraid to use them in your own conversations every single day.
Absolutely. And you know what? I think the fact that we've been chatting about this for a while shows just how rich this topic is.
Yeah, and honestly, we could probably keep going with more examples, but I think we've given people a really solid foundation here today.
I agree, and hopefully people feel more confident now about choosing between do and make in their everyday English conversations with others.
Definitely. And if you ever forget, just think about whether you're completing a task or creating something new. That usually helps a lot.
Perfect. And remember, language is flexible. People will understand you, so don't let fear of mistakes stop you from speaking and practicing regularly.
Absolutely. The more you use English, the better you'll get, and these little details will fall into place over time without forcing it.
Exactly. So just relax, have fun with it, and pay attention to how you hear other people using these words in real life.
Yeah, and before you know it, you'll be using do and make like a native speaker without even thinking about it consciously.
I love that. All right, Emily, I think we've done a great job here. This has been really fun and hopefully super helpful.
Absolutely, Joe. This was great, and I hope everyone feels like they understand this a lot better now after all these examples.
Me too, and thanks for going through all of this with me. It's always more fun to explore these things together with someone.
Definitely, and thanks to everyone for sticking with us through this whole conversation. We really appreciate you being here with us.